allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now expedite my duties as quickly as I possibly can. So at this time, I will ask for a nomination for the position of board president.
I nominate Barb Rogers.
I'll second that.
Joanne nominated. Ann second. I will ask for nominations for the position of board president for the second time. Hearing none, following protocol, I will ask for nominations for the position of board president for the third time. Hearing none. I seek a motion to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot.
I so move.
I'll second.
And Ann. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
You were mumbling.
Yeah.
Sorry. There you go. Record time, 45 seconds.
That was painless.
All right, we will continue with the election of officers. So as what happened for president, we will be doing the nomination request 3 times. So I will initially ask for a nomination for the position of vice president.
I nominate Ann Schmitz.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Joanne, seconded by Mick. I have a nomination for Ann Schmitz. Do I have another person nominated? Hearing none, I will ask for a third and final time, any additional nomination for vice president? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot. Okay, motion made by Dave. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Mick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we will be looking for the position of clerk. So I will ask for a nomination for the position of clerk.
I'll nominate Priscilla Swoboda.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a nomination for Priscilla Swoboda and a second. I will ask for nominations again for the position of clerk. Hearing none, I will ask a final time. Any additional nomination for the position of clerk? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot.
I'll move.
Okay, I have a motion by Dave again and a second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, we have the position of treasurer. I'm asking for a nomination for the position of treasurer.
I nominate Patricia
Okay,
Ballman.
I have a nomination of Patricia Qualman. I will ask again, second time, any nomination for treasurer? Hearing none, third and final time for the position of treasurer. All right, I will ask for a motion to close the nomination and cast a unanimous ballot.
I so move.
Motion made by Joanne, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Can you just interrupt for 1 second? Who is the second for nomination?
For
For-
treasurer,
Ann nominated.
Yep.
I second.
and she seconded.
Joanne.
Okay, congratulations, everyone. Makes it easier for Jason. All right. Okay, we'll move along here. Secretary to note roll call. Jason?
All members present.
Moving on to board appointments. Board correspondent. I would like to once again appoint you, Pat.
Nobody else wants to do this?
You do.
Nobody's jumping at the chance?
Oh, you do a great
You
job.
do a great job. Yes, we
Okay.
appreciate it. And CISA 7,
You bet.
all right, Mick. Board Secretary, Jason Malat. The board committees, I did not pass this out prior because one must be prepared but not presumptuous on being elected. So let me pass these out. I decided that I would just go ahead and appoint the committees tonight since we've been so delayed with this COVID and our strangeness. We have a lot of work we want to get done, and this can just get things going. So I'll pass these down this way so everyone can look while I am. Just if you want.
Got enough? Yeah.
And as you will notice, and you probably did when you looked at your original agenda, I have done a little bit of modification of the committees. Given we have our own buses now, I combined building grounds and transportation. So building grounds and transportation, chair will be Wessel, committee members Swoboda Schmitz, finance, chair will be Qualman, committee members Rogers and Wessel, public relations and marketing, chair will be Schmitz, committee members Weisner and Emert, policy and practice, chair Rogers, committee members Schmitz, Swoboda, legislative action, chair Qualman, committee members Emert, Rogers, curriculum, chair Swoboda, committee members Wiesner, Emert, charter school chair Wiesner, committee members Rogers, Qualman. Obviously, there's a couple new committees. Curriculum, I was thinking, Mick, since you had sort of an interest in it,
I do.
that would be an excellent way to jump in with our charter school and some of the different things we're going to be looking at with offerings and maybe looking at graduation credits and things like that. That will be sort of the focus of that committee. Charter school, obviously, that sort of speaks for itself, Pat. And let's see, legislative action. I thought.
Yeah, define that, please.
Yes. You bring up a nice thorough report. There's a lot of things that affect the schools. I really sort of feel like we need to be a little bit more of a squeaky wheel. I thought if we had an actual committee that could look at it and maybe decide if we want to write a letter or do a contact vocally and who that could be for, and maybe even get a little more involved at trying to submit a resolution. But I just sort of feel like there's so much that we have strong feelings about that maybe we can just get a little more active with it. So exactly how that all falls together, because you are our correspondent and you are sort of immersed in it anyway, I thought you'd be the logical one to be the chair of that.
Okay.
So, the other note that I have on here is that I'm thinking, well, first of all, the agendas need to be prepared by the committee chair with administrative and board member input. So when there's a meeting, obviously Nick and the administration knows what they feel they need to cover in it. Any other board members, if there's something that you think the committee should be looking at, please submit it to the chair. And then, of course, I think probably we would just send it to Tammy to put together.
Yep.
And you just have to give her enough time to make sure you comply with the open meetings posting requirements. And I do think, and it's later on in the agenda, but I do think there is a number of these committees that should try and set some dates right away tonight for their first meeting. And again, I was also thinking that some of the main ones, building grounds, transportation, finance, public relations, policy and practice, might want to have some scheduled, I don't know, on a quarterly basis or something, meetings, just so that they're on the calendar And as things come up that aren't urgent, you know, can just be, okay, that'll be addressed at the next meeting, and
Yeah.
everybody sort of knows. And I just sort of thought that might be helpful. We can maybe, the first meeting of when the committee meets, it can be looked at and maybe determined.
I would say that your building and grounds and transportation should probably set almost like a mandatory first part of August, because now with our buses and, you know, we need to understand who we have driving and whether we want to do any particular training for that year, so on and so forth. Legislative action, Mike Gallagher is going to be here on Wednesday, if you want to,
Oh, this week?
yeah.
Really?
So at 11:45, he'll be at this building, so if you want to come, that kind of thing came up. He was supposed to come last year, the week before COVID, so it got basically pushed off. But that stems from, oh my lord, 3 years ago in Washington DC when we met with him.
You met with him, right? I remember the pictures.
So, I don't think it's gonna be anything intense, but just show him the building, might be a chance to
Well,
bend his
and
ear about some things.
get him familiar with
Sure.
who might be a face
He might be
for,
hearing from us?
yes.
Yeah, so,
Where's he gonna be? He's gonna be like start off in your office, or?
I'm just gonna meet him at door A, and I said I would give him a brief tour of the building, and we'll probably, I want him to see like how we have classes now and cafeterias and things like that, and how we have kind of done this all this year. And then obviously he wants to talk to kids, which is fine, but we can certainly carve out something.
Fit something,
you know,
yeah. If
He's
nothing
pretty
else,
reasonable.
walk along
I've
with
found
him.
him to be pretty reasonable and a nice guy to talk to, so
Where is your office these days?
it's
Have you gotten out of the back corner?
not quite yet, but
But you're working on it?
yeah,
Okay.
sure. We won't all squeeze in
And then
there.
finance, you can sort of help, there's going to be times of the year that would be more helpful to have it, and of course, then the budget meeting and all that is all separate, but, so,
Madam President,
yes, Dave.
sorry, I was disconnected the last 2 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I missed something, maybe I didn't, but if I missed something important, could you fill me in?
We've just been talking about the board committee assignments. Did you get that?
Yep,
Okay. And the fact that we're going to probably have some scheduled meetings that are just routine through the year. Nick had suggested that Building and Grounds for sure would need to have one in August because of the transportation part of that committee now. And then we were just talking that this Wednesday, Mike Gallagher is going to be visiting our school. And so the Legislative Action Committee, it was suggested that might want to come and meet him face to face. So that's really all you missed.
okay. Can you email the committee members and heads out tomorrow morning?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I had someone from the community ask me why we don't do like the city does and appoint someone from that community to our committees. And I said, I don't really know, it's never been done that way. So I just thought it's something that, I don't know if we want to do it this year, but something we need to maybe discuss and see if that would be something that we wanted to do.
By law, in terms of our committees, it's the chair who determines who's going to attend any specific
Okay.
meeting. So if there was a meeting that you felt somebody from the community would be offering something, that could happen. I didn't see anything about them being a member of a standing committee. Certainly, there can be some committees made up for the purpose, like we used to have the goals committee where there was,
Right.
so that's something we can think about too, but,
I just, I wasn't, so
Yeah.
I don't really know.
yeah. Okay, anything else before we move on from committees? All right, well, we'll get busy with scheduling those later in the agenda. Delegate and alternate for WASBA convention.
Who's up on the docket?
You guys are all looking.
Who hasn't done it in a while? You always have to do
I'm
it,
on
so
this,
so you're off of
I don't
it.
remember that either.
Pat, when did you last do it? Might be sort of
I
appropriate.
don't remember.
Ah, you don't remember? Okay, how about if
It's
you,
not painful when you're,
The first time I did it, I thought I was gonna take my sleeping bag.
well, you know, who knows, maybe we'll have a resolution in it this
Okay.
year.
All right.
So we will have you as a delegate, and would you be willing to be the alternate?
Sure.
Okay. So delegate Pat, alternate Ann. Designating the depositories for the school funds. Let's see.
There's a cheat sheet here somewhere.
We have, and I will ask for a motion shortly after this, Associated Bank, Nicolay Bank, Bank of Luxembourg, American Deposit Management Company, and the Local Government Investment Pool. So I would like a motion to approve those as our depositories.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mick, seconded by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is designating the legal counsel for school matters. And I would like a motion to approve Davis and Coulthal, SC, and the WASBA attorneys for school matters.
I
So-
so move.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion made by Joanne, seconded by Pat. Questions or discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, setting board meeting times and dates. I was looking at the calendar, and it doesn't seem like we have as many conflicts this year, does it? I mean, December looked like one we have to change.
yeah, it's the
Okay.
standard now.
1, 2, 3.
So that would be the 20th, I think, of December instead of the 27th.
I don't have a calendar.
But I was looking at Thanksgiving, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think is a,
20th.
20th. And Thanksgiving looks like there's,
not a well, the Thanksgiving is the 25th, the fourth
So
Monday
we're-
would be the 22nd, so,
so do
We're
we
not
want,
in school
That's
that whole
what you guys
week.
been out yet.
so we're not in, so either, I would suggest the 15th or the
15th.
29th, huh?
In November, I would, the 15th,
better.
because we're, yeah, or
Okay.
the 29th, I guess. But
Yeah, either one.
I'm sorry, Dave, what did you say?
Practice schedule hasn't been out yet, has it?
I don't know.
They're worried about drafting somebody with talent this year, so.
And then when's,
Okay, so November, we're talking about
When's the
moving
week
it
off
to
in
the
April?
15th
it's late, isn't it?
to not
Yeah.
conflict with vacation
So it's
around
this week here.
Thanksgiving.
Which one
But
is
we
it?
were thinking about changing that, sorry.
Okay, so we have November and December, what else?
We're talking about April, because remember, spring break is scheduled
Right.
so ridiculously late.
Right,
And there is a proposal by the person staring directly at me right now over there. I would think keeping it the 18th would be fine, because this is when it's scheduled, but I think we're gonna try and do
So when is the actual week off?
is the 11th through the 15th.
Oh, okay,
of,
April.
Super
April.
late. So that means we basically are back in.
and Easter is the 17th.
So the 25th, there's really no conflict at all then?
No,
Is that what you're saying? Right, okay.
So 20,
25th.
and that's the 4th?
That's the 4th, so that's
Okay,
good.
so the only exceptions to the 4th Monday would be November and December.
What's that November
So we're
day
saying
again?
November
Hmm?
15
What's the
and
November day
December
again?
20.
Um,
And we don't know the
15.
Packers schedule, Dave, so I suppose we could always do a last minute change. All right,
Thank you.
so is everybody marking that down? Now we're coming to the time. We had moved it to 6:30 to accommodate one of our members being on another committee that was always on a Monday. Does anybody have a feeling for or against moving it earlier?
How does 6 o'clock sound to you?
Or even more? Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing.
Earlier the better. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm thinking. For the administrative team, I think from a community standpoint, we don't want to make it too early so that somebody that might want to attend that works couldn't get here, but what about 5:30? Would that be helpful? Especially for people who have to drive a little distance home?
That works for me.
That work for you, Jen?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we will change the time to 5:30 on the fourth Monday.
and that will start,
And that will start
In May, correct?
in. Yeah, see, this is
That's what you're thinking?
it's
I
like a
just-
little,
Is that okay?
that was pretty cute. 3 people to answer that question. Yes, that will start next month. So Dave, did you get that? We will be starting at 5:30, starting the next meeting.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I do think you're gonna get some kickback on that though. Some people that drive to work in Green Bay and back.
You even think with 5:30? I know when we had it at 5 o'clock, we did. That was years ago. And I was one of those people.
Well, I understand where Dave's coming. If somebody doesn't leave work, and they work in Green Bay, and they don't leave till 5, it's going to be a struggle to get here. I guess I understand that by 5:30. I get that.
I tried in a zoning board for Casper Town. 6 o'clock, we always could not have a problem. 5:30, we had a problem almost every time. Somebody couldn't make it, either they were part of the zoning board or on another committee that had to come to that or whatever, and most people get out of work at 5 o'clock in Green Bay.
Well,
I know it's not going to affect our board members, but we also have community members that might want to get to that meeting on time and they can't do it because they're at work till 5 o'clock. I don't personally care if 5 o'clock works for me fine.
well, we're not saying 5, we're saying 5:30.
Yeah, and that works fine for me. I'm just thinking if you're going to, well, let's try it. If we get some feedback from the community, we can always change it up.
That's sort of what I'm thinking, because I think 5:30 would make it a lot nicer for our administrative team and get them home a
I
little
would
earlier.
think, by the type of people I was thinking, is parents of kids that are being honored. If they're working in Green Bay, they're gonna have to quit a little bit early to get there by 5:30.
Well, yeah, although at the same time, we could make accommodations on the agenda in terms of when we gave the honor and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's
As
try
long
it.
as we don't have as long as we don't have a president that goes till 11 o'clock anyway.
I'll do my best, Dave.
That wasn't meant for you.
Okay, so we've all agreed we will at least try 5:30. If we get a lot of community concern over that, we will reconsider. But next month, May, we will be at 5:30. Okay, board correspondent report.
Okay, well, I'm back to talking about school funding again. Although it's a little different twist on it. They were looking at the government's proposal. It's an adjustment because the enrollments are down because of COVID. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to mitigate the effects of that drop in enrollment. So there's a proposal in the governor's budget that we would take the rolling 3-year average to the account, but you would take the school district could use the greater of the 2000 or 2020 pupil count for both summer and fall. So we'll see how that turns out. That would be great. Remember when I talked about those ESSER funds, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act, and how they were going to distribute that, and how they wanted to do it by the students that were actually in the classroom. So the DPIs kind of define that a bit. So for this, I mean, in-person instructional hours are defined as hours in which pupils are together in the same physical location, being taught by a licensed teacher who is in the same location. Hours of virtual or other remote instruction may not be counted under any circumstance. So how are they going to do that? How are we going to, apparently, I don't know who's going to, Jason, if you're, I don't know who you got collecting this data, doing all this stuff, but it's going to be like a similar method to the summer school report, is what I understand. Let's see, Wisconsin is receiving $175 million in federal funding to implement testing programs in schools. We would also have, you'd have to apply for it, you'd have to be certified if we wanted to get into the COVID testing. There's a couple of things going on in well, right now, the state is basically holding a lot of hearings and meetings, so there really isn't a lot being decided right now. There's a couple of bills on the docket. One would allow school districts or school boards to determine the start of fall classes in public schools, so we would be back in control of that, which would be nice. There's a bill regarding open enrollment and income eligibility for statewide voucher programs. The open enrollment would prohibit a resident school district from denying an open enrollment application for any reason, and eliminates the current limit of 3 open enrollment applications during the 2021-22 school year.
Wasn't that for virtual, or was that for anybody?
It doesn't say anything about virtual.
That's for anybody.
Yeah, and then the statewide voucher program, it increases the income eligibility on that. Either way, if this goes through, the impact of more students being eligible and potentially participating in the program is going to cost the taxpayer. And then there's another one relating to the timing of equalization aid and payments to school districts. Because we all know that our budget is not friendly to their funding, so that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there'd be lots of things that we could sort of dig into as a legislative committee and to be concerned about.
Where do you stop?
Yeah, where do you stop? Okay, any questions for Pat? Then we will move on. Board CISA report, Mick.
I really got nothing. I was on my way down to Nashville for the wedding, so I didn't.
Okay,
I don't really know what happened, but I know the reorganization one is next month, so I'm sure I'll have lots of stuff there.
okay. All right, since this is a call-in only, the next agenda item is the citizens delegation. If there is anybody online that would like to be heard, this is your opportunity. Again, this is the agenda item of citizens delegation to be heard. If there is anyone online that would like to be heard, please speak now. Hearing none, we will move on. Board President announcements. Well, this is my opportunity to welcome the returning board members, Ann Schmitz, Pat Qualman, and our new board member, Jennifer Emer.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Do you go by Jennifer or Jen? Okay, Jennifer. Okay, welcome. We will attempt to answer any question you have. It is a steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And I think any board member sitting here will say that the more you learn about some of the finance of, of schools and some of the different mandates, you're going to realize that it doesn't operate like a normal business. Whatever normal is. So, we don't expect to totally understand it all at once, but we will do our best to support you in your learning curve.
Thank you.
Administration reports. Moving on. Nick?
So I will start with all my numbers up on the board over there, and I'll just go through them with you. But I think it's important just that everybody knows and understands kind of where we're at. So the side on the first bit of column there, the elementary school, shows you numbers and percentage of those vaccinated. Obviously, you can see we have big discrepancy between buildings. Overall, we're right at 70% right now, which I think is pretty good. Our support staff is, it's a hard number to calculate because not all of those people spend a ton of time here. We did get rid of, not get rid of, but didn't take into account some of the people that may have worked an hour or, you know,
Sure.
a ref or whatever, they're coined as staff, but they're just not here on a regular basis. So the 64 number there is just people that are here on a regular basis. I put the loss ratio from our insurance up there because I think it's a dramatic increase, and it's somewhat tied to where you see low participation. So when you go from a 75% loss ratio to a 125% loss ratio in a calendar year, all my alarms go off, and why? On the next part of that over there, 6 out of our top 10 highest cost claims are not employees, they're spouses. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of talking to our employees and getting in front of people and talking to them about how they utilize things. Because it's really difficult to swallow when I hear some not so flattering remarks about the school district, and then I see certain claims come through that are 6 figures. That's difficult to handle. And I think part of it is, obviously, COVID, we're not always talking to people, we're not always in front of them, we're not talking about how to utilize urgent care versus ER versus this, how to make sure that you're working with your primary care physician, how do you get engaged with the wellness committee, how do you do all of this stuff? Because when we do that really well, we have a loss ratio that's a model for everybody to follow. So as the president of the insurance consortium for the 9 school districts now, I can tell you that our premiums and our renewals are tied directly to loss ratios. So when we go into the consortium and we have a 75% loss ratio, I have some good leverage. When I come to the insurance consortium with a 125% loss ratio, I don't have a lot of leverage. So when I'm trying to push on things that are long-term investments that pay off significantly, that's a tough thing for me to swallow. So lots of things go into that this year, but I just think it's important for you guys, gals, to have all of the numbers kind of in your mind. And again,
Well, it impacts
There's-
everyone on the premiums that everybody's gonna pay.
yeah, there's like 8 pages worth of, you know, these quarterly reports I get on that. Just understanding that and really for us, understanding that we need to be back in front of our people a lot more often. And that's, you know, consistent with others, because we were not together for such a long period of time.
Right.
So, again, just want you guys to have all those numbers, so that you understand kind of where we're at with everything. Switching gears to the talent acquisition, I've sat in on a number of interviews this year. Frankly, I'm kind of just blown away at 2 things. The number of qualified applicants that we are getting, and then really the interviewing of those qualified people. They have all been really wonderful. And the thing that jumps out at me the most is their experiences. So we have interviewed and hired people, for instance, that have never been in a classroom, that have taught their entire student teaching career online. And think about that. And to demonstrate that you have connection with those kids and show improvement is amazing. Like, their creativity, and it was just shocking. To having people that have been in session like we have all year, right? And that's how they did their student teaching experience, and some where they teach for a week and they're off for 4 weeks, and teach for another week. I think we had one individual, I think he told us he had a total of 10 total days or something like that, that he actually was able to teach. So you just, long-term, you think about, they're high-quality people, right? But their experiences on how they've delivered content is so drastically different than what is common for us. So when we ask them questions about, how do you feel about, things that sometimes people are a little growly about, they are not, because they don't know any different.
True.
They
have started in the worst of times,
Right.
and so,
And
yeah.
yet they are like truly optimistic about what they're getting involved in, and
Wow.
I'm honest to God, I've been shocked. So really super high quality, and then when we're able to hire them, they're really truly the rock stars out of the whole group. So now we were hitting it out of the park for a while, and then we did have somebody just take a job at a different place, but that's also the part of that. When you have really high quality people, they're gonna have 4 or 5 different offers on the
Certainly.
table at one time. So again, it goes back to where are they coming from? And some of those decisions are, out of our control. It's not that we're out of the ballpark compensation, it's just that, they wanna work 20 miles from home rather than 4 hours from home.
Oh,
So,
of course.
I just thought it was important to tell you about.
Well, that's
super
a
excited to see.
silver lining
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
crazy year.
So, excited to finally get them here, in August and really hit the ground running. So I know some of our resignations and things like that this year have been difficult to handle, and because you don't know what kind of quality you're going to get. But I've been very surprised. Partnership planning, kind of the ESSER funds. I think there's a lot of discussion that is happening around utilizing ESSER funds for things that are not just short-term wins, but looking at using ESSER funds, maybe in connection with other entities, for 5, 10, 15-year, 20-year kind of sustainability things, okay? And again, I don't have that crystallized, but I like that we're having conversations with the city about how do we maybe partner on some things. And again, nothing's set in stone, but we are actually having a conversation about that, because we do have so many kind of things that we need, right, that we depend on. And obviously, broadband and all that stuff gets a ton of attention, but think of things like housing, when you're trying to get really talented people into our community and they're like, there is none. So that's hard to handle. So again, just talking in terms of vision out, instead of let's pay off this or let's do this and it's one and done, and that, benefit is only realized for a year. Whereas something like setting up broadband to complement others that could involve, opportunities. Now, that's not all ESSER funds.
Because I was going to say,
we have-
didn't it come in like 3 different segments, and they are
1, 2,
pretty
3.
well
Yeah.
designated in terms of, you don't just have total leeway in how you want to
Right.
spend it.
And that's where I'm just saying that people are talking.
Right.
Because if you're, for instance, I think our school district has a long history of turning $1 million into really sustainable, long-term impacting stuff, right? Versus drop $1 million and next year wonder why we don't have the $1 million, right? And we have witnessed that in other places where people drop significant funds and then the next year they're laying off all those people because they don't have anything to support it. So trying to be good stewards of that money, but then also think long-term with it, because I can't imagine that we're ever gonna get SR 1, 2, 3 funding at the kind of level that is coming through. So we need to be strategic about it, and we need to be smart about it.
And we don't have some of the issues of the districts that weren't able to have students in
Absolutely.
front of teachers, where they're
Absolutely.
gonna be spending a lot of time and effort to see what losses there were
Correct.
with the,
I think-
lack of in-person.
We are miles ahead of
Yeah.
others in the sense of what are our needs, and then how do we do that, for the best ROI on it? Because others are really trying to assess, okay, we haven't had a kid in the classroom or in front of a teacher for an entire year. Where do you start, right? Whereas we know, we have certainly had some gaps, but, maybe a percentage
Right.
of what they have, encountered. And I think we have identified it all along, where we have areas and populations that are growing, and we need expertise in certain areas. So I think we have a pretty good idea about where most of that will go. But, I don't know the exact number, Jason probably does off the top of his head, but all three of them combined, I think, is like 1 point.
Right around 1.2.
So,
ESER 1's done,
yeah.
so that one's over with. It's really ESER 2 and ESER 3.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but those funds don't have a sunset until like 2024?
Well, ESER 2 will sunset 1 year before ESER 3, and 24 is when ESER 3 is done.
So, planning, I
Yeah.
think, is important for this, much like we do planning with
Mhm.
Fund 46 and all of those pieces.
Right.
I think it's important for, Finance Committee to talk to the other committees, because you might be able to strategize some of this. You have 3 years,
Right.
and you might be able to leverage some of those resources with other opportunities along the way, so. Yeah, I don't think we're, gonna say, here we go, we're gonna do it on X.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna spread it out and do it where it makes sense. And that's all I have. I am complete.
Any questions for Nick? Okay, we will move on. Elementary principals report. Katie?
All right, the first thing I have for you is just some brief information about our Little Stars and our 4K programs. We did open up registration for that a couple weeks back. So I provided you just with some information about the 2 programs, in case you get any questions or if you yourself have any questions. This semester will be our 4th year of implementing both the Little Stars program for 3-year-olds, 3 and 4-year-olds, and then also full day 4K. So as far as registration goes for Little Stars, May 14th, we're suggesting as a registration deadline, and then the same for 4K, obviously, knowing that at any time 4K students can enroll. However, we just like to kind of plan out class lists and do all of that stuff ahead of time if possible. Typically, for both of those programs, there is an open house. We didn't do that this year, obviously, because of COVID, but the teachers are willing to meet individually with families, take questions over the phone, email, anything like that. So all that information is highlighted here on these two pieces of information, these 2 documents. A quick assessment update. We are so very, very close to wrapping up assessments across the board. It's been an interesting challenge this year because we've had our virtual students who are required to take the state assessments, however, they have to do so on site. So scheduling of that has been interesting, and then just making sure their technology, their Chromebooks are ready to do the testing. So Jesse and Troy both have been really helpful with that. It's been really, really smooth for most of the time. So without their help, it definitely would not have been possible. We have quite a bit of time yet to assess all of the students. I think we have until May, I think it's May 14th actually too. However, we're pretty much done, pretty much there. So just a quick update on that. Elementary playground and PTS fundraising. I know I mentioned a few months back that we were beginning this process, kind of looking to add to our elementary playground with some equipment specifically for our 3 to 5, 6-year-olds, because they, we don't have as much equipment for that age range as we do for our older students. So the PTS has been phenomenal this year in coming up with creative ways to fundraise for that. We're just wrapping up a readathon, which that fundraiser alone brought in about half of what we need to fundraise overall for the entire project. They're also gearing up to kick off a meat sale in partnership with Salmon Meats. So information will be coming out about that as well, which I think will be a hit too.
A meat?
A meat sale, yep. The first annual elementary PTS meat sale.
All right.
Everybody buys beef, like, yeah, whatever, right?
Where's the
Boxes
meat?
of hot dogs and hamburgers.
Almost like a meat raffle, and those used to be very popular.
Yeah.
I went to a number of
Summer,
them.
it'll be a great, it'll be a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paddle, I'll just stop. Here's a spinning wheel.
We're still working on the design of that playground equipment. We're working with the same playground rep who helped us design our last project, and she came back with this beautiful design, but it's way bigger than, way more expensive than what we really had in mind. So we're just kind of slowly scaling that back a little bit with a couple revisions. But once we have it nailed down, I will share that with you for sure. But that has been definitely positive. And then lastly, just some end of the year wrap up stuff, because I feel like this has been the fastest, slowest year. I don't know how else to describe it, but here we are at May, and at the elementary school, the end of the school year is a really busy time. So teachers are just kind of trying to be creative and come up with ways to do all their end of the year kinds of things without necessarily taking the same kinds of field trips. A couple dates though that I wanted to share. 6th grade promotion will be held on Thursday, May 27th. More information will be coming out about that, but we did meet last week and we did nail down that date. That will be held after school. It's either 6 or 6:30. The exact time is escaping my memory right now. We're going to have parents, it'll be held in the auditorium. We're going to have parents reserve tickets. So we'll be responsible for assigning seats in the auditorium, spacing out as necessary.
How big is the 6th grade class?
We have about, it's a little bit larger, about 50, 53. So it's a good size, yeah. But yeah, that's exciting. We'll be able to offer that in person this year. And then the other thing, on the very last day of school, which is May 28th, we will be doing our end of the year award show. But it will be virtual. Typically we have everybody in the auditorium for that. So we'll just do that virtually, but we are planning to share that link out because parents do like to attend in a typical year so that they can watch their child if needed. That's all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, questions for Katie?
I have a question.
Me too.
Do we have to install all the playground equipment again?
No, they got rid of that. They don't do that anymore.
The fun,
Yes.
in the pouring
Your
rain.
rain. They said no. They said that got to be too much. And for liability purposes, they're just
Shocker.
Xing the whole thing. As we have X-Acto knives and like.
Yeah, some people should not ever have an example.
So this will be a full install, done by them.
Got it.
Timeline to be determined.
Pat, you had a question?
Yeah, the assessments. Are you going to be able to give the board information on how kids did, the ones that were strictly virtual versus the ones that were in school?
Oh, that's a great question. I could pull something together.
Because I would kind of, because I personally, I know some kids thrive virtually, but I personally think kids should be in school. There's socialization, there's interaction with people. You know yourself as parents here, when your kids are growing up, you limited their screen time.
Yep.
And so virtual, they're on screen all the time.
Yeah.
So I would just kind of be interested to see how they fared being virtual versus
Yeah.
in school.
And we also have our district screener, so I could easily pull that information before the end of the school year. The state assessment stuff usually comes out later in the summer, so
Yep.
that'll be a little harder, but I could definitely look at that from our district perspective. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll make a note of that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Katie. To our next Katie, middle school, high school, Pathfinder.
Yes, all I have for Pathfinder is that as of last week, all of our seniors are done
All right.
and graduated, so super proud of them, really excited for all of them. I really didn't know that was gonna happen, so they all got to put their painted handprint on the wall and sign the wall of fame in Pathfinder, so that was pretty cool to see. Our NHS and Senior Awards Night will be May 19th at 6 o'clock in the gym, in person. We're doing it a little bit different this year. We're gonna kind of combine it. It used to be NHS and then a little break and then Senior Awards. But we are going to just do it all together, so NHS has more of an audience, people can recognize them for their efforts, and then at the very end, we're gonna have just like light refreshments, cupcakes probably, and some juice for the attendees. Graduation will be May 23rd at 2 o'clock in the gym. We have 4 tickets for each graduate, and parents can call and request more if they need more. We haven't had a ton of requests, which I'm actually pretty shocked about, but I feel the closer we get, the more people will probably be calling in. But I'm just really excited to be able to have it in person this year, kind of back where we normally have it. So
Well, we have a small class.
we have a very small class.
Is this the one, the small?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 34
Nine.
kids,
So you're taking
39
maybe-
kids.
Yeah.
120
34
people?
walking. Maybe
Okay.
less.
It might be under 30 walking. It's
Well,
very
real
small.
quick.
Yep.
And you have kids that are already graduated and that's not
Sure.
their cup of tea anyway.
Right.
So it is
Well, it does make
very
it
small.
easier for a year that we want to try and space and be safer, instead of having our biggest class coming through.
Yes.
So, good.
And then hiring updates, I mean, Nick already talked about kind of the talent pool that we had. I'm very excited about our English
So
hire.
can you review the positions that we
Yes,
hired?
we have high school, middle school, high school English. And we hired a girl by the name of Nicole, and she's also ELL certified, which I'm very excited for. So got some ideas cooking for her already. A FIAD position, which is to be determined, so we had offered it to somebody who accepted and then accepted elsewhere. So we hired it to another person who will be letting us know in a few weeks. We have a speech opening. We had a special ed teacher opening, which I know Maria will talk about. Sorry, I don't think so. Those are the main 4.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Question for Katie? Okay.
Just to help any board members planning on attending graduation.
$2 o'clock, that's it.
At the 23rd.
Okay, moving on, business managers, finance bulletin report, Jason.
Okay, I just have 2 real quick items. One is, here on the agenda, we'll designate a depository for the school district health savings account, which is Bank of Luxembourg. We have yet to need to use that. We've never used it in all the years that you guys have approved it, but just in case, we do it every year. Basically, what would happen is if insurance would come back and require us to have a high deductible plan, then that would come into play. Until that happens, it really doesn't come into play. And then the next thing that I have is the all-important June meeting for finance.
Well, Finance Committee that would be me and you and Dave. So we're talking June. Did you have a preference in terms of part of the month?
I do not really.
Dave, do you want to meet at your house?
Sure.
Okay.
I would prefer that to be in the earlier part of the month, because at the end of the month, it gets kind of crazy with ending summer school.
I would be available anytime, starting the 7th.
Up to you.
Dave, do you have a preference? We're looking at the week starting,
Tuesday or Wednesdays work out good for me.
so the 8th?
Sure.
Thursday.
Okay, we're looking at Tuesday, June 8th. Would that work for you?
That should work.
Am I in the wrong year?
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sure. Work for you?
Me? Yep, me. Absolutely.
Nick and Jason? Okay, 2 PM. All right.
And then attached to the finance bulletin is the standard board update on our budget.
All right. Any questions for Jason? Okay, special ed report, Marie.
Like Dave was saying, I was just going to touch on the candidates that we were looking at. We're super excited to talk to them about a potential special education teacher who is actually a former student. And then we're still on the lookout for an in-person speech and language pathologist. Also, along with the assessments, we have a few students finishing up the alternative assessment to the board exams. We're just kind of wrapping that up. And I just kind of wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the elementary special education staff. We've been kind of short-staffed lately, and they've been really flexible and accommodating to each other and helping each other out. So it's been really awesome to see them work as a team to cover where we're needed. So it's been really.
You want
Don't
to?
know who's speaking, Madam Speaker, but I can't hear a word.
Sorry, it's Marie Ott, and
Quiet
she is
spoken
giving the
one.
special ed report. Do you want to mention their names?
Sure, I mean, really, it's
Yeah.
all of the special ed
Yes,
teachers.
you're right,
elementary
speak up a
school.
little bit.
Do you want me to come up there?
Just repeat what she said about, so we can hear it.
Why don't you just try speaking a little
Sure. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Very well.
Awesome. I was just touching on, we are excited to hire a special ed teacher who's actually a former student. We're really optimistic about her. But we're still looking for another in-person speech and language pathologist. We're finishing up the alternative assessment with some of our students. That's the DLM, the alternative assessment to the board exam. And then I was just about to give a little shout out to the elementary special education staff, being primarily the special education teachers, Rachel Schneider, Logan Rankin, Jamie Southsider, Andrea Phillips, and then myself. I'm also a special education teacher still. We've been really short-staffed, so they've been really creative and flexible, helping each other out with coverage lately. And then my last thing is I will not be at the next board meeting. I'm having a baby in 3 weeks, so.
All right, that's a good excuse. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions for Marie? Okay, Live Algoma monthly update, Teal.
Can you hear me, Dave?
You bet. If you talk like that,
I'll talk like that. No problem at all. I gave you a little printout. This is the ad that will be in the national publication for the National Civic League. It goes to over 10,000 organizations in our country as a hard print, but then there's also an electronic version that goes out to all All-America City awardees in the past, and then of course their finalists for this year. So being a member, we have an ad in the paper in this publication each year. This year, for our membership, we are teaming up with the city. So the community development committee that I'm on, they paid half of our membership funds. And the reason for that is because there are really great membership benefits, like you get a % off of any services the National Civic League offers. You can get free consulting in regards to civic engagement. If you apply for grants, they will help you with some of those things. So very much a benefit to our city to, I guess, team up with us on that. With that said, if any board member wants to receive the e-newsletters or have access to any of the member benefits, please let me know and I will add you to the list. There's some really great conferences that they put out, workshops, lots of great information, bright spots of what other communities are doing. So if you would like that, email me and let me know and I will add you to the list. Along with the National Civic League, we are in our final meetings of the banners. They should be up and around town right before Shanty Days, hopefully. We have a representative from CJI Communications who will be here in the first part of May. The city administrator and myself and possibly Nick will be out and about of the community identifying poles, and they will have certain organizations identified like the school or wellness center. They'll also give tribute to fire and EMT, the city and the chamber. So just, it'll be a really nice decoration for Shanty Days.
Yeah.
We were visited last week by an organization called 5 Healthy Towns Foundation. All I will say is they are groupie fans of all the work that we have done in the last 5 or 6 years. They really wanted to visit us pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, so that was delayed. They were here last Thursday and Friday. They really just wanted to see all of the work in action. Jennifer was part of the tour. Joanne was here to meet them as well. She was gathering the pickleball teams. And they really wanted to see 3 areas. They wanted to see our Wolf Den after school program and our youth engagement with that. They wanted to see Wolf Tech and our business partnerships as well as our youth engagement there. And they wanted to see the Algoma Community Wellness Center. The big purpose is looking at how we incorporate intergenerational well-being, so youth to community. Although we couldn't show them everything at a time like this, I think they absolutely loved it. And I printed out a little excerpt from their magazine, so they send this out into the state of Michigan. Again, they work with 5 schools, 5 towns, 5 wellness centers. So you'll, on the front cover, you'll see the 5 schools that they work with. And then I'm telling you, they're fans. They've been fans for the last 6 years or so, 5 years. And they even write about us. So this article is about failing forward, and they're trying to spread our language that we use here out and about in their 5 towns. So it was just, honestly, it was really a privilege. Usually when we have tours, and not that it's not a privilege, but I kind of felt like honored that they were just head over heels for us for so long. And I think there'll be continued partnerships. One thing that they're really interested in is how we can do youth exchange. Is there potential opportunity where we could send youth there and they could send youth here and we can learn from each other that way. So I see a lot of networking across the lake in our near future. Last but not least, AVA, so Algoma Venture Academy. I will be acting as the liaison between the Algoma Venture Academy Governance Board and the Algoma School District Board. So far, they have filed for incorporation with the state of Wisconsin, so that is done. They've developed their bylaws and a 501c3 status. But in order to obtain their school DPI number, we're going to have a contract. So the ad hoc committee, Pat, and I missed the names of the others, Pat and
Joanne.
Joanne.
Myself.
Pat, Joanne, and Barb. We have a board meeting, a governance board meeting for AVA on May 12th at 6:00 PM. You are invited to join that meeting, which we will discuss the contract. We need to finalize the contract and submit it actually before the end of May, so before June 1st, in order to get it to the state in time and to DPI to get our number. Prior to May 12th, in fact, this week, I will send you some example contracts that we will receive from Charter Nick. So I say Charter Nick because Nick is a representative from the Charter Division of the state of Wisconsin through DPI, who is kind of helping us build our capacity for what we need. So I'll send you some contract examples. I will also send you, right now, they are looking through the Algoma School District policies, and they will have kind of a list of policies that they want to look at more in depth to maybe have omission from or autonomy from. So I'll make sure I email that ahead of time, so when we meet together, we can discuss and try to finalize a contract to set forth. And then just a really overview of where we're at with the Venture Academy. There is about 18 students right now who have applied to the Academy. These are all internal students at this point. We have not been able to recruit any open enrolled out. I think that's gonna take some time. Anything new in Algoma, we gotta show them what's possible, and then it seems like when you build it, they will come. So we gotta practice our story and generate it a little bit, so.
Doesn't hurt to start small.
Doesn't hurt to start small, I agree. We're at half capacity, we can only enroll at 40 in year one,
Right.
so we're at half.
Now, as far as the contract, so we will try and finalize the contract with the committee to be presented at the board meeting on the
Yes.
24th for
Correct.
the whole board, because the board is the one that has to approve
Correct.
it.
Yes.
I have advised the governance board when discussing the contract with the committee that instead of spending all your time talking 10,000 foot view, bring the things that they want autonomy from, an explanation for, so on and so forth. Because the lion's share of what they're gonna do from a contract perspective, HR's through Jason, the school districts. So there's no point in having a lengthy discussion about
Right.
that. So just to get everything on the table, whatever it ends up being, if it's 10 or 15, then we have a conversation about that, understanding that it's an instrumentality, co-located. They're not gonna be straying from the norm except for those few that, things that they want to. And none of it's earth-shattering.
No, and a lot of this is like when we had applied for the grant, to see if we could get supporting money, they already asked us to kind of look at some policies, and to be honest, there's not very many that I think we're gonna need autonomy from in order to have a public charter. So, it shouldn't be too bad as long as I send you some free things to look at ahead of time.
Right, and again, I don't know if you have had the opportunity, or either of you, but on the WASBA website, there was a really good charter school presentation, which is recorded, and I think both of you paid the registration for the convention, so you'd have access
Yeah.
to looking at that. Again, I think I'll look at it again just to remind what our responsibility as a board is, so.
And I would also offer, if this is helpful to the three of you to learn more about what a public charter is, you could always meet with Abigail and I. We've had to do lots of research, we've attended different calls, so we can just give you an overview about what it entails and what that part will be, and maybe where we're at in some of the detailed planning, just so you have more of an idea, in case you're asked in the community as well. I think it's important that we have that narrative scripted, so. I offer that.
Okay.
I'm complete.
Any questions for Teal? All right, we have a big agenda, so we will keep moving. Committee reports, building and grounds, March 23rd, 2021. That's you, Dave.
We had the meeting outside, we met on a cold afternoon. And our first discussion was on meeting the leftover light panel that we got, solar panels, and using in Bonner Elementary School. We do it for, the B1, they says we like around 23,000, Jason?
Yeah, I think,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, and we would be, guaranteed that in so many years we would gain that back from solar energy. And then we talked about the track program. In the future, the track is gonna have to be replaced. There's about a dozen spots on there where she's, deteriorating from the bottom, not from the top. It's deteriorating from the bottom up. And then it, shows up like a canker sore on your arm or something. So that was, the main things that we talked about. Ed, have you got anything?
Well, we're gonna add those, lights to the tennis
Yeah,
courts,
like,
but that's basically on donated funds, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's all paid for, I guess.
Yep. And we're putting some extra light in the parking lot, right, Jason?
Yes.
So it's not so dark?
Correct.
Thank you.
That should be up now.
The pole is in the shop.
Pull the shot.
Pole is in the shop.
Okay. Well, it's under construction and so.
Do we have a time frame of when the pole will be in the parking lot?
So they're gonna, as soon as school's out, they're gonna demo the old pole and the concrete, platform that's underneath the parking lot. Pour a new, platform in that, and then put her up, so. I would say
Right
by the
after
end of- By the
school?
end of June.
Okay, right after school ends, it will be up.
And just in the side remark, found out the track wasn't for handicapped only. I hope that changed on the ground to keep bicycles out. Either have a lockdown next time we gotta go through it. It's a little ridiculous.
That's why it's good to do outdoor meetings every once in a while, Dave.
Nobody thinks about it if you can walk.
Exactly. Your valuable input.
They had a lift for a wheelchair over that too. And the only reason is there to keep bicycles off. And then the other thing we're trying to figure out is how the seals carry on the gravel onto the track.
It's insane.
Huh,
Tell me if they do.
okay.
Inside the building, didn't discuss inside the buildings a whole lot because I guess everything's pretty much up to snuff. I would like to see the new boiler someday when we have time. And the weather is a little nicer for getting out, but, looking forward to working with the new committee and making some progress on that too, so.
Okay,
And I'd like to welcome our new board member. If you've got some time, stop out and have a soda. Your husband knows where it is, and he's done some work for me, so.
Well, thank you, Dave, that's good to hear.
all right, any questions for Dave? All right. Board of Canvassers meeting, April 9th.
So we're to call the meeting to order on April 9th at 8:55 a.m. Malat noted those present, Jason Malat, Allison Denise, and Priscilla Swoboda. Canvass of the April 6, 2020 spring election was conducted. Canvassers reviewed inspector statements for each voting entity, reviewed certification of each voting entity, and added ballot counts for each voting entity. No voting irregularities were found. All votes were verified and reviewed. Total votes: Ann Schmitz, 449, Jennifer Emert, 327, Patricia Qualman, 397, Eugene Cleveland, 13, Dawn Steller, 1, Chad Pavlot, 1, Jim Rubus, 1, John Schmidt, 1, Rob Reinert, 1, Philip Krieger, 1, Ken Taylor, 1, Jeff Lee, 1, Larry Firestein, 1, Doug Theory, 1, Jennifer Meverden, 1, Bonnie Hawk, 1, Andy Miller, 1, Jim Miller, 1, Paul Moss, 1. So would have moved, Denise's second to adjourn, all yes, motion carried at 9:20 a.m.
Okay,
So, it's quite an array.
yes, I was gonna say.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, all right. Okay, other specific items for discussion. COVID vaccinations, we pretty much covered in your report where we're at with the staff. As far as any kind of policy related to that, that will probably be brought up for discussion in the Policy and Practice Committee for next year. Board district goals. So everybody got a handout of what we had come up with so far. So this is our discussion option. I did not get any additional input since our last meeting, so what you are looking at is all of the wording that we had discussed during the meetings. Once again, to remind everyone how important these are, because every single thing we do as a district will flow from these. All of the financial decisions, all of the curriculum goal, everything should flow through these. So when we are looking at them, we want to make sure that they are meaningful to us, meaningful to anybody reading them, and we will actually expect, I think I would like to have as part of our teacher orientation, staff orientation, not just the teachers, but everybody, that every employee be probably signed to say that they have read and understood, because it's that important. Because we will be referring back to these all the time, or we should be, because if we aren't, then they're not meaningful. So, take a chance to look through if there's any typos or any improvement in the way something is worded. Joanne, you are our official, what would that be, grammarian? I think you had mentioned opportunities.
Yeah. Do you want a singular or plural? It's an opportunity for all or opportunities for all.
Apparently opportunities is correct, and opportunity is what we've had.
I'll smile and nod and say whatever you.
And certainly, we're not trying to just say it's one opportunity. So if that is a change everybody feels comfortable with, that's an easy one. Make that IES. Everybody had a chance to read through them?
I did, the last one, to me, this doesn't flow right. We will create an environment that embraces character building and cultural awareness through authentic experiences, learning with. Does that, am I not reading it right? Am I
A
not?
comma after,
I think it's like a comma before learning and a comma after another, like it's like a chunk there that you could insert.
so authentic experiences,
Clause.
comma,
Okay.
learning with and from one another, comma.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, okay.
To meet the changing needs of our
It just
community
didn't.
world. And I don't know, maybe I even forgot those when I was retyping these.
Okay.
But yes, I agree. Yeah. We'll create an environment that is fulfilling.
Barb, I can update the, I'm just looking up there, that is not updated, I can update that and reprint.
Yes, and of course, I mean, we will be talking about the handbooks, but in the handbooks, the updated goals, of course, will need to be there. And again, I want them not to just be the Algoma Board of Education, but Algoma Board of Education and Algoma School District goals. They are all of our goals, so. Any other comments, questions, revisions? Okay. Well, then we will get to those in action. School district motto, there was a sheet in our packet. I'm gonna let you lead this one, Nick.
Well, I think it is basically everything that we do. As you can see below, I just threw out some things and then asked what others thought, and I think what we came up with is a good synopsis of what we stand for.
Feelings on it? So this would replace the small town values, big world opportunities. So this would be on the bottom of all of our letterhead, and building a world of opportunities for all to thrive. I like that. It sort of goes along with some of the things that you put in your civic lead too. And thriving community, using some of the similar terms. Any other thoughts?
Do we have already printed letterhead?
We print our
We
own
don't,
letterhead.
okay, it's all on, the okay, good.
Mhm. Well, our letterhead has changed anyway, we have new board members, and,
Okay, good.
so any of those changes, this would be the time to do it. Feelings?
Perfect.
Like it? Perfect?
I like it.
I like it. I like it. Okay. Cool. Staff appreciation. Nick had thrown out, and I totally agree, and I'm sure it probably has been discussed, that given this year, staff appreciation should be a month-long event versus a one-time event. So I think you had thought of some, tell me what you have already sort of thought of, and we can jump in
So
with.
basically just taking every Wednesday in May, the first Wednesday being this traditional school board, whatever you want to do. I know Jen, you had something that you wanted to do, and then I thought it's pretty easy to just, you know, it's, I don't know what your time frame is in terms of availability, but I know that teachers really appreciate when you take the time to stop by. You don't have to give them anything, but just to acknowledge and say thanks. Yeah,
Were you
just
thinking
thinking every Wednesday, just planning something every Wednesday. First one being the traditional meal. I'll leave it up to you on what you wanted to provide a second Wednesday.
Yeah, we're doing some kind of lunch. We're thinking it'll probably be most appropriate to have sort of a meet and greet atmosphere instead of a sit-down thing where people are just flowing in and out. So maybe like finger foods or soup or something like that. Does that
And you guys were gonna do it opposite weeks, right?
Yeah, the 12th here and the 19th at the grade school.
So that might be a great opportunity, so when they're doing that at the elementary, have a little thank you up here to the teachers and then vice versa. So that captures 3 of the weeks, and then 4th one, if you know, right before we leave anything, so.
Okay, so I'm kind of in the dark here. When you say you guys over there, what are you talking about?
Jen approached me from her
Okay.
congregation and said that they wanted to do something
Okay.
for the staff. And I
Okay.
said,
All right, okay.
you know, we always do the traditional one the first week in May. So we had conversations about what they, you know, a meal or whatever, so that's what I'm referring to. And we
Okay.
figured instead of doing it all on one day, the entire staff, do 1 week. down at the
Okay, so
elementary.
on the 5th, it would be school board appreciation, and it would be both schools? I mean, that's what we, and will we sort of stagger the times? So that we could, because it would be nice, especially for the people that have certain years in and that we could deliver those to their rooms, or, you know, school board members can,
Yep.
it would give us a chance. So I think there was a reason why we went for certain times at the elementary and the high school last time, which,
Did we coordinate around lunch hours?
yeah. So what was the best?
For elementary this year, it would be between 11, well, really 11 and 1, they kind of all spread
Okay.
out.
What is the situation at the high school? What do you do for?
It's hard because the teachers are kind of watching over the student lunches, so.
And elementary, they still have their students in the classroom, and, right?
Yes.
I
Just
don't,
not at the recess time, which is opposite the lunch time, so it's still that 11 to 1 time.
Well, I mean, I think we'd probably have like a box lunch, kind of, nice box lunch,
Yeah.
so that people can just grab them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't think that requires a lot of time. I'm thinking, so probably it doesn't really matter a whole lot,
No,
but,
because they can come and get it when they have time.
and I think it's really great for our kids to see school board members come in front of the class and thank them for all that they've done this year. I think that's an important step that they need to see. My 2 cents anyways. And I also will say that I've had 3 staff members say that the best time they've ever had is when the school board members went to their classrooms. I think you had bread at one time. I don't even think it was
Yeah.
about what you gave them, but it was
Yeah.
the personal, like, visit.
yeah, so we can, so May 5th is coming up pretty fast, so that's next week. So we have to figure out who's gonna cater and what, and how many, and contact them. I know I'm looking right at you, Jason, and you go, what the heck, why am I have anything to do with it? But
Well, I think-
we'll figure that
I
out.
think we can do it probably in-house, actually. Mary likes to do that kind of stuff, actually, so I'm not too worried about that.
Up here or for both, or?
For both, I mean, you know, it's gonna be some type of box thing anyway, so the biggest thing is probably getting the boxes.
Okay,
But she can, that, I'm not worried about that.
okay, all right. So then the 12th, you're going to do from the,
From the church.
from the
We're
church?
gonna bring a small group of people and food, here to the high school, and then the 19th will be at the grade school building. To say how much we appreciate everybody.
Okay, and then the 26th? It's so close to the end of the school year, everybody's gonna just be happy.
Probably.
They're gonna appreciate that the last days are coming. Okay,
Probably have teachers like squealing their tires leaving this year, you know. Usually that's the students, but I have a feeling there's some staff members that.
I mean, maybe we could do, yeah, anyway. Okay, so mark those days down, and maybe we can put it together and see if we want to try and divide up and go to different schools, or go at different times, or switch off, or whatever. But now that all of us have a little bit more time, we have a little bit more opportunity, so, and we can coordinate with you too, Jen, I don't know what You being the only working person left on our board.
My schedule's extremely flexible.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. Schedule committee meetings. Well, we've got finance scheduled. I would like to schedule a policy and practice meeting. Preferably, I mean, it could be as soon as like this Thursday, probably not any sooner because we have to post an agenda legally, or next week, Monday or Tuesday, or Thursday. Policy and practice, me, Ann, and Nick.
I'm
So,
pretty much open.
what days are, what,
I didn't bring my calendar, just set it, and then I will work around it.
well, is this week a busy week for everybody? Would you rather?
This first week of May?
No.
Oh, this is
This week.
So the only alternative this week would be probably Thursday for me. Otherwise, we'll move to the first.
Thursday I could do, of this week.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, why don't we just do it?
What time?
You tell me.
Yeah, go 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm still sort of a night person. 10:30?
Sure.
10:30 on the 29th?
10:30 on the 29th. And would we be able to use the little boardroom room?
Okay, Thursday, 29th.
So I will have to get an agenda shot off to Tammy ASAP. But okay, so that's policy and practice. I would say that marketing, yeah, you need to set something. That's Ann, Joanne, and Jen.
What's good with you, Jen?
I'm flexible. Are you guys wanting to meet this week, next week? Early in May?
Friday would be the only day this week I could meet.
I think next week would be better.
Next week, okay, let's look at next week.
Done the 4th, that's your birthday.
Yes, it is. We can meet on my birthday.
A birthday meeting
There you go.
on Tuesday the 4th for Ann. All right, what time?
We could meet in your office, couldn't we?
Oh, yeah, from like,
Then you could be working.
well, I can be there when the eggs arrive.
She thinks we should separate it,
Okay,
and she's the boss.
that's fine.
Or bossy.
Or bossy. So, May 4th, what time? You're supposed to be working till from?
Well, we get eggs delivered that day, so I have to be around when she comes, so 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And again, could they use that front little board room?
Yep,
Okay.
the only day that room's not available is Wednesday afternoons.
Now, we're talking near Jason's office.
Yeah, that,
Okay.
where we meet, where
Okay.
for closed, where we used to meet for closed. Okay, building and grounds just met, so we probably don't have to set anything right now. You wanted to do an August meeting for sure, but we can, well, I don't know. Did you want a May or a June meeting?
Okay, first thing.
I can't hear Nick.
I'm
There-
thinking,
No,
I
yeah,
feel like grinding that hard yet.
yeah, nobody's talking, it's thoughts.
I know you discussed it when the meeting started, but when is this conference now?
It's
Same
in
location.
process. It's,
We have something that we probably should talk about in this building, so if next week we could meet.
so Nick,
any,
for transportation?
Building and grounds.
Wessel?
That's you.
Yeah, it'll be you again. So Mick has just committed
Oh,
to,
and transportation, gotcha. Okay.
So, 4th is Tuesday,
Alright.
6th is Thursday. Can we do Thursday? Just so I don't have meetings every.
building and grounds,
This Thursday?
May 6th. Apparently there is some things in the high school building that Nick feels that need to have a meeting. Would it be here?
At school? Or here?
It could be at your place.
Maybe I ask, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm having a really heavy, what do you call it, therapy coming in from down to 2 days. They're driving me nuts, but they're getting me a little better, so.
All right.
Well, if it works, we can certainly come by you. It's not a big deal.
So what time?
Maybe in the afternoon, like 2 o'clock, that would work, but they usually come between 10 and 2.
May 6th at,
At
2
2 PM. So May 6th at 2 PM.
Okay.
We have set the charter school, we are meeting on May 12th at 6 PM, and that is here. Okay.
can I ask a question about these committee meetings?
Yes.
Do you want me to be at all of them, or can I send members of my admin team?
I think that can be determined, and no, you wouldn't have to necessarily. The ones that for sure you know you have something, otherwise.
I would really appreciate your presence at the ADA one right now.
Yes, I understand. What I'm saying is, like, if you're having a committee
Yes.
meeting and one of my administrators has some expertise in that area.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah,
so
yeah, the
instead of me sitting
idea,
there staring at
right.
the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. No,
That's all I'm saying.
I think you can determine who's most appropriate for things. Curriculum, is that something that, I mean, that's gonna sort of dovetail with charter school and some of that. I don't think there's any big rush for that, right?
No, I don't see anything pressing on that. Just
Before the
anything
end
that
of the
you
school year.
do is gonna be
I mean, after we have the,
like a year before it would be, you know.
right, so the discussions can start
Yeah,
anytime.
But I don't think there's any pressing.
Yeah, don't have to get it in before the end of the year or anything. Okay. And how about legislative action? What do you think, Pat?
Well, there's certainly enough to talk about.
Yeah, I can't,
I guess maybe we should meet and prioritize, what we would like to.
yeah, I think that
Address
makes
first.
sense. Again, we talked about this Wednesday, any of the committee members that can come, well, Mike Gallagher is here.
I mean, if you all can attend that, have a little discussion after or before, or whatever works for you guys. If you're not gonna be, I agree with you, you've got tons of stuff to
Oh, yeah,
sift through before you.
right, but we could maybe just sort of establish stuff. What time again was he going to be here?
11:45.
On Wednesday. Got that written down somewhere here.
Yeah, maybe we could, you want to try and meet maybe before?
Yep.
Yeah, organize some thoughts and questions and.
Yeah, try and.
That's
Okay.
this Wednesday.
So what if we said 10:30?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine, I mean, yes, yes.
In here, this room?
Yeah, where would we be out of the way? Because this is a Wednesday and you said that's the,
But it's before noon, so
Oh.
she doesn't
Okay.
start until noon, so. we
okay,
can meet
so
in
we
there.
could still,
10:30, you said?
And did we decide a room?
The front
Old board.
little boardroom.
Oh.
Okay. We are going here. Okay, so the only one that is not a rush is curriculum that can maybe be set in June or something,
Okay.
whatever it
I
works.
write this down.
Okay, does everybody have it? I will just sort of review. Building and grounds, we have May 6th at 2, finance, June 8th at 2, public relations marketing, May 4th at 1, policy and practice, April 29th at 10:30, legislative action, April 28th at 10:30, charter school, May 12th at 6 p.m. And curriculum, we will set at a later date. Everybody clear on that?
So just a reminder, the agenda for the legislative has to be posted prior to 10:30 tomorrow morning.
So,
That's me?
yep. I'm sure it can be very general,
That could be a one thing, just
right? Organization.
discuss and prioritize,
Yeah.
legislative action for second quarter of 21. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever you want.
So, right,
Yeah.
that's all it has to be.
Yeah, and,
Then just send it to Tammy and myself.
yep,
Send it to Tammy and myself.
yeah. And she'll get it posted. Thank you for that reminder of timing. Okay. Review masking resolution. That was in your packet, and we said we were gonna review it quarterly, so that is why we are looking at it again. And it would apply until the end of this school year.
You know, they're supposed to be coming out with some new masking tomorrow, the CDC, through being recommended by Mr. Fauci. So,
Outdoor masking, I think. Outdoor,
yeah.
which we already have here.
For outdoor
Yeah,
masking,
we
right.
already have here.
So I don't know if that'll change what we want to do here. or-
Well, did we go from 6 feet to 3 feet? It's been kind of crazy.
Given that we're finishing a year where we've already adopted practices in the schools, I would think that changing anything doesn't make a whole lot of sense, unless it's been a problem. I think we already had that outside, they weren't
It's
going
already
to
in here.
have to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
It's on implementation.
So that wouldn't change much either, so, obviously, the public health department and everything, is still recommending it. Yes, other than, like you say, there are some back and forth with, distances and whether, vaccinated people can meet together and that kind of thing. But,
I think it's just best to use common sense.
so this is not requiring an action, it was just a review. It would only be an action if we were gonna try and,
And I think this was just for till the end of the school year, right?
that's correct.
Remember right?
It would apply through summer school. It would be the end of this curriculum educational period, but it would not apply to next year. That would have to be something that we would have to come up
Redo.
with again. Okay, everybody feel comfortable with it?
Yep.
I'll do a straw vote on it, and hands up if we still approve this. Okay, it passes. So we will continue as we have. I think that's the least complicated. All right, moving on to action items. I need a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of March 15th, 2021, the Building and Grounds Committee meeting minutes of March 23rd, 2021, and the Board of Canvassers meeting minutes of April 9th, 2021.
I so move.
I'll second. I have a motion by Joanne, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the bills that were presented to us.
So,
Motion made by Mick. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Pat. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the Bank of Luxembourg as depository for Algoma School District Health Savings Accounts.
I so move.
I'll second.
Motion made by Joanne, seconded by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the 2021-2022 CISA 7 contract that was in your packet.
So moved.
Motion made by Mick. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Questions or discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the board district goals with the slight change of opportunity to opportunities and adding the commas in the community and rural connections.
So move.
Second. Motion made by Pat, seconded by Mick.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the Nicolay Viva Trust Agreement.
I'll move.
Motion made by Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ann. Questions or discussion on that?
Jason, Viva, that's the acronym for what?
So the Viva is our trust documentation for our OPEB.
Okay.
So,
And who do you deal with through Nicolay?
you like that? You like around that?
Yeah.
So that is the reason why we are signing it again. So you guys signed this once before, but there is some turnover. So the new representative is Jake Kloss, and he will be our new trustee.
And who are we dealing with through Nicolay through this?
Jake.
The new one is Jake Kloss.
Okay.
The previous one was Danny Hansen.
Yeah, no, and who is it now?
Jake Kloss, Klaus. So that is the reason why. So nothing's changed from the one that we signed previously with them, other than the new representative.
Yep, okay.
All right, I believe we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We'll get, Jennifer, we'll get you like a 46-page binder with all of the.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll quiz you on it.
That will all fail.
I need a motion to approve the elementary school student handbook as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. This would be the time for comments.
I just was looking at the personnel, and I believe Jenny Hash is not Jenny Hash anymore. I don't know if you want to change that, but I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah, there'll be more changes, I'm sure. as we-
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Usually Shelley hopes me do a once over before.
okay.
Yeah, I would think staff and of course the goals.
Yep, the goals.
Are going to both be.
Okay.
Any other comments on it?
Nope, I was,
And the highlighted were the change, right?
Yep, that was an addition, so.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the middle high school student handbook as presented.
I so move.
Motion made by Joanne, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ann.
And that's with the changes in the staff and stuff.
Yeah.
Changes with staff, and then
And the goal.
and goals. And I had one comment, and it wasn't any big thing, but the fact, under student council, I think it would be sort of nice to say that there is a student council member that is represented, that becomes representative to the board.
Board representative from
Yeah,
Central.
from student, because they have to be from student council, that's in our policy. And it talks about that they are the ones that represent the students, and I just thought it'd be nice to put that they also have a member 10 yes. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Did we have, oh yes, did we have a couple of revisions? I need a motion to approve the revisions to the employee handbook as presented. Motion made by Mick, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joanne. So the revisions, Jason, they were related to,
One is, Mr. Coulter asked me to change the policy for allowing family insurance for, it would be full-time extended year employees. So that is one of the changes. The other change is the state changed the name of the licenses for which we have policies tied to. So we have some people under the old language, we have some people now under this new language. So there's a lifetime license, and so that's why the prior change below.
okay. Any further questions or discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the $500 donation from Alaskan Pull in memory of Roger Teskey for Ag and Tech.
I so move.
Motion made by Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ann. Very nice donation.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the solar system project at the elementary school not to exceed $23,689.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Pat, seconded by Joanne. I do have a question on that. Is this also through McKinstry?
This is.
Okay, so they have also given the calculations and guaranteed the
Correct.
payback and all
So
of
they'll
that?
guarantee the payback, as stated, we're getting it for costs. And basically this will be a roof system accessible by a ladder, so therefore, if we do need to change anything, we don't need a crane.
How many panels is it?
27.
And good media coverage on the solar
Yes.
unit.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor?
Yes, but
Oh, go
I
ahead.
think we should do what we're doing on making the public aware of what that's doing for us. I get more questions on that than almost anything else we've done up there.
Did you see the Star News article and the Press Gazette article? I mean, it was a front page Star News this week,
Yeah.
so,
It's fantastic.
yeah. I thought it was a very good article. But I agree, we should, keep things up to date in terms of when we get new information. Like, I think Jason had said, once we have a few more months into it, we'll have a lot more information we can publicize too, what
changes in it?
what changes we have, so. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve utilizing the designated donations for tennis court lighting in the amount of $3,780.
So move.
Motion made by Pat. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Joanne.
Just a question, this is solar lighting, right?
This is solar lighting.
Okay,
correct?
so I wonder if that should be in there? I don't know. I don't know, but just a thought.
I think that would be a nice addition to that. So we will amend the motion to say for solar,
Tennis
tennis
court
court
solar
lighting.
I just think
Tennis
because there's
court
always
solar lighting.
the discussion about lighting for so many other things, like
Right.
any fields or any track, or, or soccer fields. Okay,
So this sort of covers itself too.
Well, you're right.
And that makes a big difference. Okay, with that amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any requests for future agenda items?
Yes.
Yeah,
Get ready,
Okay,
get
well,
ready.
Ann is first.
What is happening with the librarian?
Position.
I can give you a short update now, otherwise we can save it for next month too. When I
it-
have more information.
Finding one would be
Yeah.
step one.
Can we
Actually,
put that on the agenda so you
yeah,
can,
I think that warrants, the whole thing warrants a little bit of a discussion. It was not on this agenda, so,
you won't let me discuss it? There she
Other
is,
than what
bossy
you-
again.
what you want as far as the agenda would be,
Library media
Plans.
update.
Yes.
okay. And Dave, did you have, an item?
yes, it's not a big item, but I'd like to get it on, I was approached by St. Paul's, and if he would like to take care of their snow removal next to the school, when our tractor goes by. Haven't talked to any of the stewardship members yet, but would anybody mind if I talk to them about it and bring it back to the board?
I think that probably could go through building and grounds.
That's
at
why I
your-
thought,
Yeah, at your meeting. So, why don't you bring it up there?
okay,
Anything else?
thank you.
All right, I need a motion to go into executive session under Wisconsin statute 19.85 subsection 1 C, E, F, and I for the purpose of personnel matters, hires, staffing, resignations, contracts.
I so move.
Motion made by Joanne, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ann. Roll call vote, Dave?
Yes.
Pat? Yep. Ann?
Yes.
Mick? Yes. Joanne?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And I also say yes.